Imagine a disease so deadly that it wiped out nearly half of Europe's population in just a few years. A disease so terrifying that it turned bustling cities into ghost towns and left survivors questioning their faith and humanity. This is the story of the Black Death, the deadliest pandemic in human history. But how did it start? How did it spread? And how did it change the world forever? Let's dive into the dark and fascinating history of the plague. The Black Death began in the early 1340s in the steppes of Central Asia. It was caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, which spread through fleas living on rats. These rats hitched rides on merchant ships, carrying the disease to Europe. By 1347, the plague had reached the bustling trade hub of Sicily, and from there, it spread like wildfire. The name Black Death comes from the black boils and bruises that appeared on victims' skin, a horrifying symptom of the disease. Within just a few years, the plague had swept across Europe, killing an estimated 25 million people, nearly 50% of the population. Entire villages were wiped out, and cities like Florence and Paris lost more than half their residents. The streets were filled with the dead, and the living were too terrified to even bury them. Did you know? Some people believed the plague was a punishment from God, while others blamed it on bad air or even the alignment of the planets. Enter the plague doctors, medieval physicians tasked with treating the sick, but their bizarre outfits, complete with beaked masks filled with herbs, did little to stop the disease. In fact, many of their cures, like bloodletting and potions, only made things worse. The beaked mask was designed to protect doctors from bad air, but it also made them look like something out of a nightmare. The Black Death didn't just kill people, it shattered entire societies. With so many dead, labor became scarce, and workers began demanding higher wages. This led to the collapse of the feudal system and paved the way for the Renaissance. But the psychological impact was even greater. People lost faith in the church, and art and literature became darker, reflecting the trauma of the plague. Did you know? The phrase "dance of death" became popular during this time, symbolizing how death could come for anyone, rich or poor. By the early 1350s, the worst of the Black Death was over, but it left a scar on Europe that would last for centuries. Outbreaks continued for hundreds of years, but none were as devastating as the first wave. So, what finally stopped the plague? Improved hygiene, quarantine measures, and ironically, the death of so many people that the disease had fewer hosts to infect. The last major outbreak of the plague occurred in London in 1665, known as the Great Plague, but it was nothing compared to the Black Death. The Black Death was a tragedy of unimaginable scale, but it also forced humanity to adapt and evolve. It changed the course of history, paving the way for modern medicine, science, and even the Renaissance. So, what lessons can we learn from the plague? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from history. And remember, even in the darkest times, humanity finds a way to survive and thrive.